Hi, my name is Mark, and today I'd like to tell you more about a game called Sweetlands, this huge box. It's a game from Uchibacoya, and thanks publisher for sending me this game for review, or should I say for preview, because this is a prototype copy of this game, because this game is currently on Kickstarter. It's already funded and you can back this game. You can visit the campaign page. I will leave links in the description of this video. And the game is called Sweetlands and the cover is very sweet, but this is a very heavy and complex Euro game, and you could compare it to, I don't know, Vita Lacerda games even, because it's very complex, even though the cover is very sweet. This is a game where you will build a kingdom, a city of sweets. The former king wants to find someone who will create the most prestigious and rich and beautiful city full of sweets. As I said, this is a Euro game for 1 to 4 players. In a second I will tell you and show you what the game is about and how the game plays, and then I will tell you my opinion on this game. But please remember that this is a prototype copy, so everything you see in this video may change in the final edition of this game. So let me show you how the game plays. This is how Sweetlands looks like when you play the game. This is a fairly complex game, so I will not explain all the rules to you. I will just tell you briefly how the game plays, so you can decide if the game is interesting for you or not. Please remember that this is a prototype copy, so the final edition of this game may change or may not change, I'm not sure. Even though this is a prototype, it looks really great, as you can see with your own eyes. Here we have the main board, where you have different tracks, scoring tracks. You have space for your workers, the worker placement area. Here are some tiles that you can acquire during the game. Here is the map where you will build your kingdom full of sweets. Here are the round bonuses, your player board, and your industry and food board, industry board. Player board, industry board, and the map. This is something every player gets when you play the game. The main board and the round bonuses are shared by all players. So let me start with this map. I will try to lift it. It's not easy because there are a lot of elements here. Normally all those houses should be placed like this, but because of the video you will not see it, so all the houses are laying flat, so you can better see it. Here we have different terrains. You have fields, you have forests, mountains, and some sea terrains. And the goal is to populate this map with building, with cities, and with all those tiles. During the game you will be able to place those terrain tiles. They look like this. Of course, when you place a tile, you have to place it on the corresponding area on the board. Then during the game you will be able to place roads. And roads, they look like this. And roads are important because when you place a road adjacent to a tile that you placed before, you can flip this tile to the other side and get one of the bonuses. Usually they give you some resources or they help you to advance on one of the scoring tracks. So anytime a tile is adjacent to a road, you can flip this tile. So for example, this tile should be flipped like this. Oh. And then when you have the tiles and you have the rows and the tiles are flipped, you can build buildings. I will explain you how to build buildings and how to play roads and all those things a little later when we will talk about this worker placement part of this game. But for now I want to show you the map so you get the idea. When you place a building on the tile, you will trigger the bonus one more time, and then you can place those buildings. The buildings on their own, they do nothing in particular, but when you remove buildings from your player boards, you will gain different bonuses. So placing a building does nothing apart from getting a bonus again, but placing different buildings unlocks some things on your player board. And when you have a tile and you have a road and you have a building, you can place those cookie bunnies. And they look like this. Again, they do nothing for this map, but you can get a lot of points by placing those bunnies near your buildings. There's also one special building, like this ice cone tower. Each player has got one, and each player has got different rules how to place these buildings. Apart from these buildings and those tiles, sometimes the areas on the map, they have printed, they have some bonus printed on them. Of course, when you cover a bonus like here, you get this bonus. Here is a place for a special tile that you can get. And apart from those terrains, you have 4 ports. 1, 2, 3, and 4 here. And the goal of this game also is to connect all those ports with your kingdom, with all your tiles. If you don't manage to connect all those ports with your kingdom that you are building, then you will lose points at the end of the game. So you get not a reward for connecting them, but you get a penalty for not connecting them. There are also 2 special areas, like here and here, and when you place a terrain tile and a road near one of those 2 areas, you will be able to get more citizen cards at the start of each round. So this is basically the map. The map is double-sided. I will not flip it because everything from here will fall down, but one side of each map board is the same, so all players can have the same kingdom, but the other side of each map is different and different from each other. So if you want to play a more advanced game, each player can play on a different kingdom map. So this is your kingdom that you will build. Then you have your player board. The player board is double-sided. There are a lot of things on it. There is this player, you can say, character mat that you slide into this board. You have 12, I think, a lot of different characters, and they have different starting resources. Each character has got a special action and a special requirement to place this special ice cream tower on the map. The left part of your player board is the area where you will store and produce resources at the start of each round. You have this, like, I don't know, crops, wood and stone and money. So here it shows you how much of each resource you will get at the start of each round, and here you track how much of each resource you have. This white cube means 1. You have, let me show you some other cubes as well. So you have this pink cubes, and this is like 5, and you have this big blue cubes, and this is 10. So now it means, for example, that I have 17 wood. Here is the area with all the buildings. Normally you start with all the buildings placed here, and when you build them, you remove those buildings from your player board. Here is usually the cost of each building. You have to build the buildings from bottom to top, so you cannot build this building as a first one. Each building costs more, but when you build buildings, you unlock the bonuses printed below, and if you reach the final, if you remove the top buildings from each track, then you will get additional scoring options when the game ends. Here are some additional buildings like this one, and here are the 3 areas of the game where you can tag the action cards under, because in this game you will play your cards to perform different actions. Sometimes you will play cards to do the worker placement part of the game, and sometimes you will play cards to perform actions that are printed on them. And if you play a card and you pay a diamond, you can tag the card under your player board. The cards, they have 3 different colors. They look like this, for example. This is a bad example, but for example this card, and you can tag those cards under your player board if you pay the diamond, and then you get the symbols printed here. And if you sometimes in the game you can trigger all the cards in one of those columns, and then you will get bonuses printed on each of those cards. So if you have, for example, a situation like this card should be placed here, but to show you this example, you could, when you trigger this column, you will get this bonus, and the more cards you have, the more bonuses you will get during the game. So this is basically your player board, and from here you will take those buildings and you will place them on your map. Then you have another board. Let me show you. This is your board where you have the industry track and where you have your food track. You can see this horse and this train. You start with this horse and then you will move it from left to right, and then it goes down here and from right to left, and each time you move it you will gain a bonus printed on it. On this track you have some spaces like this and here, and the one showed here. For example, if you pass those spaces you will get industry points, and industry points can give you victory points when the game ends. On the food track you have this marker and you will progress from left to right, and then you have those cookie bunnies that I showed you before. You can place a cookie bunny near your building on the map, and the more cookie bunnies you have, the more points you can score at the end of the game. I always say you can score because in this game, you will see it a little later, it's up to you how you score victory points, because there are a few tracks here, and you, during the game, you will decide for what things you want to score points when the game ends. So you can score points for the bunnies, or you can score points for buildings, or for placing different terrain tiles on the board, or you can score for the number of cards that you had tucked under your player board. So it's really up to you. But basically, this industry track lets you move around it and unlock industry points and different bonuses, and the food track allows you to get more cookie bunnies, because you can only remove the bunnies that are below your marker or on the left. So if I'm, for example, here, I could remove this bunny, but I cannot place those bunnies on the board. If my marker is here, I have to move it first to the right with a special action in order to place this bunny. And here is a short summary of the victory points that you will get when the game ends. I know there are a lot of things, and a lot of things may be not clear for you. There are some gameplay videos of Sweetlands created by other reviewers, so if you want to exactly see how the game plays, please go and watch them. But I hope that you get an idea how the game plays after my explanation. For now, please remember that you have the map where you will place tiles and rows and different buildings. You have your player board that allow you to take buildings from here and place on the map, and you have this whole resource production on your player board, and you need resources to pay for buildings, for some actions and stuff like this. So this is the player, all the player boards, the map, the player board, and this industry track. Then the other elements are shared between all players, and here we have round bonuses. At the start of each round, you have to place your marker on one of those columns, and then when the round starts, you will get the bonuses depicted here. For example, here I will increase my wood production, and I will be able to build one road on my map. Of course, there's only space for one marker, so two players cannot share the same space. But this board is fairly easy. The last board here is the main board, and here we have a few different sections. On the left we have the prosperity tracks, and they are divided into three type of tracks. Each contains two rows, so you have basically 6 rows. And during the game, by performing different actions, you will be able to move your markers from left to right. And basically, The further to right is your marker, the more points you will score for this specific, you can say the specific thing in this game that corresponds to the track. The first one gives you points for placing terrain tiles on the board. The second one gives you victory points for placing the cookie bunnies. Third one gives you points for placing roads on the map. The fourth one for all the buildings that you placed in the game. This one gives you points for the cities, for the buildings. This one for all the cards that you managed to place under your player board. And this one gives you points for all the industry points that you got during the game from this track. Because in this game, even though all the things I said are quite complex, there is another complex thing that you have 3 different points that you will get during the game. You have city points, you have industry points, and you have victory points. City points you get from having different cities on the map. A city is a cluster of at least 3 different buildings, and when the round ends, you get points for the number of cities you have on your board. Here, this area shows you how many points you get for having a specific number of cities on your map. Industry points you get from this industry track, and victory points you get from other things. Then, when the game ends, you can get victory points from the city points, and you can get victory points from your industry points. So, this is the prosperity track, and this track is all those 6 tracks are very important, because depending on the location of your markers, you will score victory points for different things that you managed to achieve during the game. So when the game starts, you have to plan carefully what to do in the game, because, for example, if you place a lot of buildings on in your kingdom, but your marker for buildings is here on the left, then it says that you get 0 victory points for each building. If you manage to go here, you will get 2 victory points for each building. So it's a big change. The middle area here is the worker placement area. And to show you the worker placement area, I have to show you the citizen cards. Each round of the game, and the game lasts 5 rounds, you will get those citizen cards. At the start of the game, you have 6 of them. And during the game, during your turn, you can use those cards. And there are 2 options to use those cards. Either you will, for example here, you will pay the amount of money shown here, then you can perform this action, and then you can tag this card under your player board if you pay 1 diamond. And then all those special bonuses that are on the bottom of the card, they can be triggered when you perform the action that triggers all the cards in a specific column below your board. But basically, you can pay money to perform the action written on the card, and then you can tag it under your player board or leave it near your player board until the end of the game. The other way to use those cards is to discard a card to place a wooden disc here. In this game, this is the worker placement part of the game, but it's different from a lot of other games because it's not like all players have their own workers. All the workers, this round discs here, they are shared between players. And if you want to play one of the worker placement discs on one of the areas, you have to discard a card. If you want to place it on the first spot, you have to discard 1 card from your hand. If you want to place it on the second space, you need to discard 2 cards, and on the third space, you need to discard 3 cards. So for example, if I want to place it here, I have to discard just 1 card from my hand. But for example, the first space is taken, and I want to take this action, I want to place it here, I need to discard 2 cards, or 3 if I want to place it here. So this is really interesting. And some action spaces, they only have space for 1 disc. So if this space is taken, you cannot do anything about it. So the cards, they have multi-use. You can either pay the money shown here and play them for the actions and bonuses written on them, or you can discard them to place the discs on this worker placement area. When the round ends, you need to have 1 card in your hand in the first, second, third and fourth round. In the fifth, the last round, you can use all your cards, but normally in the first 4 rounds you cannot spend all those cards. You have to keep 1 of these cards in your hand. And this last area here on the right is the area with these green tiles, and sometimes during the game you can get them and they give you different bonuses. Sometimes they give you a permanent ability, sometimes like this, for example, give you like 1 bonus per round. Once per round you can flip this tile to get those resources. Sometimes they give you additional scoring options when you will score at the end of each round, and sometimes they give you just one-time ability. So the actions here, let me go back to those actions one more time. They allow you to do all those things that we have talked earlier. With those actions you can place the terrain tiles, here you can build roads, here you can move on your food truck, here you can place buildings, here you can move on your industry truck. So all the actions, most of the actions that you want to perform comes either from those cards. For example, this gives you 2 production of money and you can move once on your food truck, or you can place the discs and perform the actions shown here. As I said, the game lasts 5 rounds. After 5 rounds, you will score points for some for the trucks that you have here, for the industry points, for the bunnies and buildings and everything. This is a prototype. I don't have all the components because in the final edition of the game you will have some in the final edition of the game you will have some milestone bonuses as well that will be placed near the main board, and during the game, if you achieve the requirements written on those milestones, then you will get points. And then there will be some end game bonuses, and depending of which player has got most, I don't know, cards and buildings and so on, you can get additional victory points. But basically this is how you play the game. 5 rounds, your map, your player board, food truck and this industry truck, and you have to try the best city you can. You have to move on your prosperity, on the prosperity tracks in order to score points for the things. You have to remember that you also have to connect all the ports, or as many ports as you can on the board, in order to not lose points at the end of the game. When you play this game solo, nothing basically changes. There is no automa in this game per se. There is an opponent, but the goal of your opponent is mostly to block some action spaces on this worker placement area and to block 1 space on the round bonus board. I have 2 small decks of cards. I printed them on my black and white printer. In the final edition of the game they will be printed nicely. This is just a prototype, and basically each round of the game you flip 1 card from this A deck and 1 card from this B deck, and these icons here show you where you have to place a disc, because at the end of each round all the worker placement discs are taken from the board, so the board is empty. At the start of each round you have to reveal 1 card from this deck and 1 card from this deck, place those discs, and these are the worker placement spaces that are blocked by your bot opponent. Also, when the round ends and you have to choose a bonus for the next round, you have to move your marker and you place your opponent marker on the space that you have moved from. And this is everything that the bot is doing. And in the end, you have to beat your own score, and they recommend in the rulebook that you have to get, I think, 250 or 270 points. And if you manage to get as many points, it means that you played a good game. But basically, you don't compete with the bot. You compete with yourself, and you try to beat your own score and to create the best city, the best kingdom that you can. And this is how you play Sweetlands. Let's go to the summary. So you know how to play Sweetlands, and now you see that this is a really heavy game, and I wasn't lying. What I like about Sweetlands, I like the theme and I like the artwork. The topic of the game is great. It's unique and it's something fresh. It's not another game where you build a kingdom or a city or, I don't know, a factory. Creating a city full of sweets and placing those milk buildings and muffin buildings and cookie bunnies. It's really, really fresh and feels, it's fun. I like that the cards in this game, they have multi-use. You can play cards to perform the bonuses that are written on them, or you can discard cards to perform worker placement actions. You can even tag the citizen action cards below your player board, under your player board, and then trigger those actions again. So I like games where you have cards, or components that have multi-use, and you can use one component in many different ways. This game has got a great production quality. This is a prototype, but it looks amazing. Dual layer player boards, amazing wooden components. So even for a prototype, it looks great, and I think that the final edition will be even nicer. They have unlocked some stuff. The cards may have better quality in the final edition. I don't know, but this, for a prototype, looks great. The wooden components, the building, everything looks amazing. I like that you can score there are many ways to score points, different ways to victory, different tracks, different scoring options. It's not a Euro game where each time you play it, you will do the same things again and again. But each time you play the game, you can try different strategies. The maps are double-sided with different maps on the other side. Great replayability. And with over 200 citizen cards in the game, you can play this game many, many times without seeing the same cards again. So this is really cool. Another pro of this game, it depends if you like those games or not. I see some similarities to Ark Nova, because you are creating your own map and your own city here, and there you were building a zoo. There are some similarities to Terraforming Mars, because you have those action cards that you can play to trigger them, but they have some symbols on them, and maybe some cards in the future that you will play will give you more bonuses depending on how many symbols you have in your player area. And it even reminds me of the Guild of Merchant Explorers, a game I really love. The whole map here, and creating different paths and connecting ports and covering some areas to get bonuses. It reminds me of the Guild of Merchant Explorers. And what are the things that you may not like about this game? First of all, this is a very heavy Euro game and very complex Euro game, but it's also unforgiving Euro game. You have to plan everything very well. You have to optimize everything from the first round, because if you don't plan everything, then in the following rounds you may have not enough resources, not enough cards, you will not be able to build the things you want. So this game is about optimization, about planning. So this is very heavy and complex. Because this is heavy and complex, there are a lot of rules that you have to learn, so beware if you want to play some lighter Euro game and you may see this cover and you may think, oh, this is a sweet game for me where I will build some, candy buildings. No, this is a complex Euro game with a lot of rules and a lot of things that you have to track and remember and do during the game. The theme of this game is amazing, but you cannot really feel it when you play it. This is a con from me. This is not a game where you feel that the actions that you do, they connect with the topic of this game. You could easily replace Sweetlands with, I don't know, Greek lands and create some Greek city, or I don't know, sci-fi lands and create a space station. I don't really feel that the things I'm doing they correspond with the theme of this game, apart from the visual aspects and the artwork. The solo mode is beat your own score type of solo mode. You have this bot, but it only blocks some action spaces. You don't compete with the automa, with your opponent, and this is not a requirement. I had a lot of fun playing this game and to just beat my own score, but maybe if they included some goals, some solo goals, some things that as a solo gamer you have to achieve, then even without an opponent you will have a feeling that you have to do some specific things in order to win the game. Right now you cannot lose the game, you can just play the game and try to play as well, as best as you can. And the last thing is not a problem for me because I'm playing mostly solo, but this game has a very low player interaction. There is this common board, but you only block some action spaces for other players, but each player has got his or her own map. You create your own kingdom, you place your own buildings, you have your own player board. So apart from this, blocking those worker placement spaces and having those milestones and maybe endgame goals that I didn't have in this prototype edition, each player is doing turns on her own player board without interacting a lot with other players. Now, overall, Sweetlands is a really well designed, beautiful, heavy Euro game. I would say it's a typical and classic Euro game. It's not a Euro game that tries to add stuff from other genres, like I played Voidfall, and Voidfall is a Euro game, but a little strategy and 4X game, and maybe Andromeda's Edge, a Euro game combined with a merry game and randomness. No, this is a classic Euro game. You have a lot of tracks, a lot of resources. You will produce resources, you will spend resources, you will advance on different tracks, you will get bonuses, and bonuses will trigger another bonuses. So it's a classic Euro, nothing bad about it. As I said, the game is still on Kickstarter. I had a lot of fun, and the game won me over with this theme and this artwork, the cute components, and if I had a choice to place a typical Euro gamer, I will create another, city, I don't know, medieval city, or I will have a choice to create this beautiful Sweetlands, then I will prefer this game. This game is still on Kickstarter. I will leave in the description of the video. You can visit the campaign, you can check what they have unlocked. The game was funded in, I don't know, a few seconds or minutes. A lot of people backed this game already, so visit the Kickstarter campaign to see what the hype is about. And I will be grateful for clicking like button and subscribing to my channel. You can visit me on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. All the links are in the description. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.